Good morning. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Hood Talks podcast. I am so sorry that we have been a little late here, but we had technical difficulties. You know, this internet and this technology. I'm still learning. But we here, and we're gonna get the show going and rolling. But I do want to start off first by saying we are doing a giveaway. If you guys can see that, the Hood Talks Doulas and Midwives t-shirts will be up for grabs because if you are watching, I would like for you to share the video and comment below in the comments, and we will put your name in a drawing to be drawn, and then we will announce the winner later on today. But so we got that out the way. I am so excited, y'all. Oh my God, I'm so excited to introduce this amazing woman here. Y'all do not. This right here is St. Louis Black History right here, y'all. So this is like so dope that she is here on the Hood Talks podcast and with us on this Saturday morning. Miss Brittany TRU KELLMAN. Oh, Miss Brittany TRU KELLMAN. How are you, honey? How you doing? You muted. Yeah, just technology, girl. That's how it rolls. Technology.
I was so cozy over here, and I just
you look cozy with that beautiful sweater, the fireplace going. Look, I'm jealous. I'm in my basement in the cold.
I'm sending I'm sending you some good vibes, Vanna. You already know art. Yeah. So hi, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for being here. And you're my first guest to be like the only guest. So
really?
That's another.
Set me up for us to talk about a lot there. Just get all in my business on the Hood Talks podcast. Okay.
Hey, only for the Hood Talks podcast though, right?
Yeah. If no other place, it has to be here. And I was thinking about that before I got on today. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I love doing interviews and sharing my stories, and I share a lot in a lot of different ways. But I don't think I've ever been invited to like a straight roots, hoods, community. Like, you don't really have to do a double take about
no judgment zone, honey.
The thing. So yeah, right. So I was very intentional about being happy that I'm with my people. I'm in my space. I'm comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so happy you're doing your podcast. It's needed because it's almost like the same as the medical industrial complex. We don't have spaces we feel safe in. So we have to go speak on these other platforms where words are like, So thank you. I appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I definitely think it is needed, and I push so hard to keep it going. But I do love that we can do this. You know what I mean? So everybody that's been accepting to come and sit on the platform, I'm like, yes, let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving and having these conversations. Yeah. Which one of the great conversations today is, midwives and holistic health and birth, home birth, and all of that good stuff. And you are the GOAT of it all. That's
Thank you.
If you in a birth world and you don't know Miss Brittany TRU KELLMAN, I don't know where you been. Okay, especially if I don't know where you been, but that's okay. You gonna learn today. You gonna learn today.
Yes.
Yes, girl, they gonna learn today.
Tell me, because I've been so excited to talk to you. I mean, when you said the topic, I was like, of course, this is my life. This will be great, but I really want, because this is I'll tell you all, a very raw, a rare occasion where I kind of show up in more of a relaxed tone and not wearing my professional hat. So I'm telling you all now, I'm showing up as true, because that's that happens to us leaders, especially us Black leaders and innovators and trailblazers. We get put on these pedestals where all of our successes and the things that we've helped to create, they kind of put us in a space to where we don't feel normal anymore.
You don't feel human, right?
Yeah, Yeah, like you have all these pieces and things. So I am TRU today. And I'm just happy to just talk about my experience in having a midwife and then becoming a midwife and starting this really maternal health revolution right here, the city of St. Louis, you know?
Revolution, yes. Honey.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Yes, yes.
Yes, but yes, baby, kick your feet up, chill out. You know, hey, look, sip. Hey, ain't no, we don't judge over here, honey. We keep it raw and real. That's all I ask, raw and real. So, you know, sometimes we got babies in the background crying. You know, people. Hey, it is what it is. We roll with the punches. So, but yeah, we can go ahead and get started since we did start off a little late, but that's okay. We here.
Yes.
Thank you all my background people that's helping. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys and everybody that's taking their time out on this Saturday morning. I do appreciate it. But yes, we're gonna go ahead and give you the floor and let you just briefly talk about, or not even briefly, elaborate. Take however long you need to talk about your experience, about who you are. Just tell us your story. And hey, however you want to flow it, or let it
flow. Okay. Okay. Well, I am just by paying homage, or homage, as some people may say, literally to my ancestors, you know, and everybody has their own view about where they get their strength from or where they get their, you know, healing from and all those things. And for me, it's my ancestors, because these are real life, legendary people who I share DNA and blood and heritage and cultures and experiences that are embedded in me. And my ancestors, particularly, I'm from Texas, a little rural town called Gatesville, but my ancestors were really kind of in the Killeen, Waco, Corsicana area. They were farmers. And when, you know, around the time when Juneteenth happened and my ancestors were free, they were able to buy the land that they had bloodied their hands and sweated all over. And they were able to buy it a 1/4 acre, and my family settled in Shiloh, Texas. And my great grandmother, particularly as an ancestor, she was the herbalist of the community. She was the soap maker. She was the one that were making the what you would call juju bags or root bags, so for everybody to put around their necks in the winter times and in the flu times to keep, you know, sickness away, all of those things. So that's just a little bit about my roots and my ancestry, my very rich cultured people, where we had everything that we needed in our community. From she grew the food, she canned the food, all of these amazing things. And I found this out after I was knee deep in this work. I found this out about my great grandmother, and that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, you know, like this energy and this life is living on through me. And her wise spirit recognizes what we are missing out on in our community, and she has instilled that strength in me to be the person to go through the trials and then bring forth the change. So I'm honoring my ancestors, my Native ancestors, and ours that we don't know, that traveled all the way from Africa, especially this Black History Month, that made that horrible, disgusting voyage and were forced to come here and to be midwives and deliver the babies of their oppressors. You hear me? Mm-hmm. So we had to do that, and then we were, you know, allowed to be free. And then they stole midwifery from us, and they stole folk medicine from us, and they stole a lot of very rich, sentimental, sacred things from us. That has left us to where we are now, where Black women are dying at 3 to 5 times the rate of white women, and babies are not surviving. They're dying at a higher rate than they were in the early 90s when we didn't have top-notch facilities.
Right. And that's a message, because, right, you know, sometimes you get people to be like, well, that's white people stuff, or that's white people have their babies at home. Why you want to do that? Why you want to do? No, did you hear that? It came from us.
It came from us. Okay. And there is a white midwife pioneer. We know what pioneers are, right? They're white people who happen upon indigenous lands and indigenous things, and they like it and they want it and they take it and they get rid of us and they embody it and own it like they did it. And so we have those type of energies out there. But just so that I don't get too far off, it was important that I acknowledge that from my personal ancestry and lineage as a herbalist and as a traditional person. And then I want to acknowledge the Grand Midwives. A lot of people like to call them Granny, but the Grand Midwives who delivered, yes, continue to deliver the babies of our oppressors, but also saved the lives of Black mamas with their herbal knowledge and wisdom, and really helped America give birth, you know.
Okay.
So them first. And so for me, a lot of people have heard my story. I was a teen mom, and I don't want to just glaze over it for people who haven't heard it. But, you know, I was pregnant at 13 years old. I was in the 7th grade, for Pete's sake, you know, and I have amazing, beautiful parents. So I don't want anybody to take away from this, like, well, what were her parents doing? No, I have beautiful parents. That's what social determinants of health are. In Black communities, and you have parents who have to work 2 jobs and go to school, and you have a household full of children, and they give as much as they can, but children are left to find out on their own. I don't blame my parents for that.
Right.
So anyway, all in all, had my first son at 14, and it was a really negative, disheartening experience, Vanna. You know, nurses eye contact with me. They induced me for no apparent reason. And I later found out my OB was going on vacation. So she was inducing all of her folks within this window, you know.
You can go sit up and have fun.
Yeah, so anybody who's listening now, you know, Pitocin is a medicine that can be used and can be helpful when we need it, you know, to help to induce childbirth. But it's used in a very abusive way that actually cripples the birthing experiences, especially for Black women. And so that they shot me up full of Pitocin. I hyperventilated. I almost lost my life. I'm on oxygen and can't breathe. My baby's heart tones are dropping. And then they rushed me to OR, insinuating like my body is incapable of birthing my baby. And all they had to do was turn the damn Pitocin off. Okay.
Ain't that crazy? They love just shooting you up with that stuff. Oh, don't let me get started, because you know how I feel about Pitocin. But
yeah, I know. I said I have a whole course on Pitocin wisely or to avoid using it at all. So anyway, they cut me, and I had postpartum depression. I, you know, went on to finish school and started high school, but went through postpartum depression, really tough, but I made it. My second pregnancy, I was in high school, Vanna, and I wish I had a little picture, but you know, had on my little graduating gown, and I was cute holding my little belly, but I was so afraid, honey. I was really, really struggling, because when I found out I was pregnant, I found a different OB, and I'm like, this isn't going to happen to me again. And it was a matter of minutes of me seeing my new OB that she was like, nope, you're getting a C-section. We're scheduling it now because you had one 4 years ago. So I was so angry the entire pregnancy. They did cut me again. And the depression that I experienced, Shavannah, after they cut me that second time, it literally almost took my life. And it's hard to find quality mental health care providers and people to really help me. So I struggled. So, you know, having Jamaa is like a direct opposite of what was available for me. So all in all, after I had him, I did a deep dive into just kind of being so in the darkness. And in that, I found myself. And I know that kind of sounds corny, but you know.
Oh, no, that's just truth, honey. No, speak your truth.
Because the only thing was that the white providers that I was seeing through Medicaid for mental health, like they were just like crossing their legs, writing prescriptions for me. And I'm zombied out, and I have like a 6-week-old baby at home. So essentially I just cried out, and I was just like, Creator, like I want to be a good mom. I want to, you know, live a good life. I don't want to punch somebody's clock 10 hours a day and I don't get to see my kids off to school or when they get home. Like,
right.
I want to be a better human. Like, please take this away from me. And the creator led me down to the path of yoga, and not physical yoga, like doing the asanas, but the actual Sanskrit principles of yoga, which is how to yoke your mind, body, and spirit. So I was all over the place, and so all in all, yoga, I will say, saved my life. And so yoga really restored my hope and faith. And so I was able to do some research on women's wellness. And I'm like, since I had such a crappy experience, what is the opposite of that? And all I was finding was our indigenous cultural practices that were so far out of reach, right? They're on the other, in a colonized place where it's hanging on by a thread. And so I ended up finding a book and seeing a Black midwife in there, and that matched energy let me know that I could do it, that I could be a midwife, that I could be a provider, and that I could be what I didn't have and be the change I wanted to see. So after that awakening and that calling, the midwife that I seen in the book, her name was Sandra Abdullah Salamo. So she's a very well-known Black Grand Midwife who's still alive and just creating a lot of change. But essentially, I became pregnant again for a third time. So at this point, I know I'm going to be a midwife. I'm practicing as a community doula. I'm like holding sister circles and moon circles and all that. Everybody knows like I'm really like a moon goddess, serious, total moon. And so anywho, I'm doing all those things, and then I become pregnant, and I'm like, okay, now TRU, talk your shit. You know what I'm saying? You are holding your kumbaya moon sister circles with y'all incense and hers, but we was going deep. We were really doing it. It was an old school goddess, Black woman power vibe, like 2010, 2011,
That's what's up.
Well, but anyway, I find a midwife. And the first thing I asked her, because there were no Black midwives in the state of Missouri, none in St. Louis. And the one midwife that I did find, I said, do you know any Black midwives? And she said, no, but I'd love to be yours. So, so she ended up being my midwife. I had a very successful HBAC, which is a home birth after a cesarean. So I had them in 2 pushes on a full moon night, my third son, and I reclaimed my birth and I reclaimed my power. And, Shavannah, and I'll just kind of cut there and then we can get into Jamaa, but that's kind of more the personal part. But the crazy thing is, after I vindicated myself and had this beautiful birth, I was invited to go to Ghana, West Africa to learn more about midwifery and support an American midwife. And when I asked what was the American midwife that I was going to be supporting, they told me it was the woman from the book.
Oh, wow.
That I read years back.
Amazing.
And it's been on and popping ever since.
Since.
Yeah, that was 12. I had one of them 2012 babies, and he opened up the portals, and it's been popping.
Yes.
He's 8 now. So I have a 19-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 8-year-old.
Amazing boys. Or men. Some of them are men now. But yeah.
Collins an adult. I can't bring him around my friends because they give him extra long hugs. And I'm like, why is your hand on my son's chest? Like, who hugs like that? So I have an adult child.
Yes, honey. Yes, he is an adult, honey. Leave that grown man alone.
He has chin hair and he shows it to me all the time. Mom, look. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
And look, all the little bitty ones too. Oh, sweetness, man. Yeah. So amazing story, but just like the experience that you had to go through, unfortunately, which like, I did my birth story episode ago or two, and it's sickening to me that we have these similar issues and similar stories, like when you talk to Black women in birthing, and that's why we're out. That's why you're doing the work that you're doing, and I'm a big advocate for I'm always going to be a big advocate for Jamaa, the things that you guys are doing. But the birth world and changing it just period, you know, having to advocate for that is, man, it's crazy. It is unbelievable. It really is. And then the differences, because, you know, like you said, your son is grown, and here I am. I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So how much has changed? You know what I mean? Ain't that crazy?
It is.
But the power of reclaiming your birth, like you said, you reclaimed your birth. So the power of that alone, you know, it's not to say that, you know, for women who have to have C-sections and, you know, it's an emergency, you're still a mom. You're not less of a woman or none of that. But it's for the ones that when you don't have to need those things and people are just putting that on you for their own personal gain. That's the problem.
So I think that maybe I'll mute when you're talking, and then okay. I don't think I hear it. All right, cool. So you're absolutely right. Over 60% of maternal deaths are preventable. You know what I'm saying? So that's 3 out of 5 women who died in childbirth who should legit be here. And then in that same breath, they have tied implicit bias, flat out racism, and microaggressions directly linked to the maternal deaths and the disparities that are within those. Because it's okay if we're looking at maternal deaths. I mean, it's not okay to see that women are dying in childbirth. But if it's a straight shot, like this is an issue, you know, cardiovascular reasons, okay, we know we need to direct our programs on making sure that all women have that. But if it's so deeply rooted and embedded that it's not even that it's literally racism. And when we say like microaggressions, like it's so deeply rooted in these people that it's in every action that they don't even realize sometimes. You know, it's on autopilot that no, you don't get this quality medication because of where you live or the insurance that you have, or no, you don't get a high quality epidural placement because you look like you're not worth nothing. You look like you have Medicaid. Oh, you're Black, you're tough. Y'all have gone through enough. You'll be fine. I need to hurry up and do this because there's a white lady next door who is excruciating in pain. Actually, maybe I should have did her epidural before I came over here. Those are thoughts in these people's heads when they are working with us. And if we think about for every 100 deaths, well, for every 1 death, we have 100 morbidities. So we have that one person that dies, but you have 100 other people who have been harmed, oftentimes beyond repair, Savannah, you know? So it's just like, yes, it rips apart a family if a mom loses her life. But also when you have to live the rest of your life with sciatica, you know, and back pain issues or reproductive health issues, or potentially having to get a hysterectomy because of racism.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And it's sickening. It is definitely sickening.
So yeah, so that's why it's important that we do have this Black birth worker revolution, that we do have this Black maternal health revolution, that we do have white people who are so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about what we're doing to sit down and hold space and invest and take guidance from us Black innovators in our community, because we are here and we've been here, you know. And so that's what's most important. And that's also what I've learned from doing this work. And I've told a few people, like when I first started this work, Shavannah, people thought I was crazy, and they probably still do, and I don't care because the work is getting done. But they were just like, who is this little girl, you know, ain't even a midwife yet, running her mouth about doulas and midwives. And we're trying to have our little table talks about infant mortality, because at the time when I came in the game, everybody was talking about infant mortality. And I was just like, how do you get the baby? It got to come out the mama. And if the baby ain't making it, then we need to look at the mama. So I came in the game about maternal health, because how we are cared for before pregnancy and during labor and delivery is going to impact the way this baby is born. So how can they add up how many women they're expected to have their babies prematurely just based on their race? Because of how our system is set up and how we've been treated, and we have what you call weathering in our body. And so our bodies are already creating endometrium linings and placentas and babies that's going to have a hard time living sometimes because the oppression and the negative impacts on our systems from racism and access. So I'm kind of going deep there, but it's
real and raw. Like, we have to have these conversations. And not only, I just talked to a friend, I say, it's not only that we as Black people have to get uncomfortable, white people have to be uncomfortable too. You have to be uncomfortable to open your ears and listen.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh no, you fine, but I mean, it's real and raw, and it's what's happening, and like you said, it's what's needed to change so that we can save lives. So until we address those issues, we're not going to save lives. And when we address those issues, that's when you're going to see the change. That's when it's going to start changing. You're going to be like, okay, this is really what it was, because this is what it is. Point blank, it's racism.
Yes.
Bias. That's what it is.
These are my views and my views only as TRU KELLMAN. And, you know, yes, I operate the Brittany TRU KELLMAN Consulting Firm, which is the firm that licenses and teaches my community doula training, as well as supporting people through consulting and having their businesses and their clinics and their hospital spaces turn into safe, culturally congruent spaces for our community members. So that's what that business does. And then I have the Cosmic Road, which hosts my books that I've written, which is a Black Woman's Guide to Home Birth. And it talks about my home birth story, but it also shares home birth stories from other Black and Indigenous people. But it's a do-it-yourself how-to book on getting ready for a home birth or an out-of-hospital birth as a Black person. But it's also for people of color and the providers who serve them. So if you're white, the book is still for you, so you can understand how Black bodies need to be taken care of. And then I have my not-for-profit Jamaa Birth Village, which is in Ferguson, and I didn't dive into Jamaa because I was really setting the tone with my personal story, but Jamaa is a revolution, a dream come true, like a literal snatch from the past matched with modern, but it is a true village and a force in a safe space for the community. And we provide low cost and affordable midwifery care, slide and scale and free doula care services, breastfeeding support, mental health care services. We provide so many things. And if you just go to our website or our social media, it's all right there. But most importantly, we're a voice for the people. And we have the very sacred job that the community has supported us and appointed us to do to make sure their voices are heard and that the models that reflect the way they need to be cared for are out front. That models like Jamaa aren't alternative or hard to reach or one and only. You know, we're making sure that this spreads, you know. Yeah. So those are my three spaces, but just inserting again that, you know, when I go into my personal views, I don't want to attach it to that, but yeah.
It's separate, but
yeah,
like TRU KELLMAN we have today. Yeah. But no, I mean, and one thing I've always told you, TRU, is that I was like, I can see like a Jamaa on every corner. We need a Jamaa on every corner, like for real. I swear.
Like Walgreens, honey.
We just need that to happen, okay? Plug it, and when it happens, I'm like,
yeah, put one right here.
Right on the hood talk podcast. No, but so, and let me put in a little. So after Devea, who is about to be 3 years old, can you believe it?
Yes. No,
I definitely had a rough not a pregnancy. The pregnancy was rough, but the birth was really rough. And I found myself in postpartum depression. Didn't even really know it until after coming to Jamaa and sitting in the moms group and just being under Jamaa and hearing all of the knowledge that TRU had and educating me on things. And I'm like, that didn't have to happen. I didn't need to go through that. Like, I was just like, oh my God. And so then myself becoming a certified doula and just the advocacy of it. So my advocacy, if you want to know where it started at Jamaa Birth Village. And so again, I am always going to be humble and grateful to Jamaa. I mean, Jamaa, you guys pushed me out there, and like Flourish came and just like, okay, we gonna push you in the court. So I appreciate all of you guys for giving me a voice.
I always say that Jamaa is like fertile ground. You know what I'm saying? Jamaa is fertile ground, and we literally help seeds to grow and flourish. And, you know, whether that's a mom who is actually growing a baby or a person who's growing a baby in their bodies at that time, and we help to plant seeds that you can do it and you do have the tools and to prepare them. Or whether it's a mom like you've already had your baby and just having challenges in those initial phases. Our goal is to not just get you through that moment. You know what I'm saying? That's what this capitalist system is built on. Let me just give you something real quick because I know you're going to come back, and then now I got you in a state of oppression. And so a lot of our great leaders, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and a lot of people, you know, that has led our nation and Black people towards freedom. We always talk about how like freedom is essentially like internally and inside yourself and how you think of yourself. And the way this internalized racism has really been grappling our community it hurts. It hurts to see. So, you know, I'm happy that Jamaa is there because we're really, really focusing on making sure that whatever we work with, while we have the honor to provide care for you or to support you, that it is going to impact your entire life in a very, you know, transformational way. Because when you're able to see something in yourself that you didn't see before because of what other people have told you, and you break out of that, it's no stopping, you know? And so we want that for everybody in their own unique way. And that's what we want, people thriving, not just at birth, you know?
Man, and that just hit home when people not knowing self. And then when you become to know self and what you're capable of, the change, man, it's amazing.
That's, yeah, like I said, myself up after really feeling like I wasn't worth anything. These hospitals and systems, they know what they're doing. You know, even if it's not on an individual level where the nurse is like, well, I'm just doing what I was told to do. Y'all know what y'all doing. Okay, it's many places, you know, so that's that. I ain't gonna go deeper than that. But
I'm gonna say it's the system. It's the system. And you're working the system. You're not trying to go against the system. So if you're working in the system and you're just going on not asking any questions, then you're part of the system. Point blank, period. Blind or not blind. You know, some people are like, I just wasn't aware. I'm just so not aware. I didn't know. Well, get uncomfortable. And this is me talking now. Look, get uncomfortable and get aware. Wake up.
You're absolutely right. You know? And so those are things we have to think about, because the same disparities that are in childbirth, they're in the midwife profession. So in the 1920s, Black midwives were eliminated through like this very, I don't even know what word to use, because they disguised this Shepherd-Towner Act as a way to save the lives of babies. So it was like an infant mortality child awareness bill. And it was a 10-year bill where they were supposed to enact all these things to prevent babies from dying. But what they did was, in that same breath, because Black midwives and Indigenous midwives, even post-slavery, was still delivering the babies of everybody. Nobody went to a doctor. Like, these people they didn't go to the doctors. You know what I'm saying? And so with this bill, they were elevating white male physicians and providers, and they were coming down on community healers and saying, you're the reason for these deaths, you're unclean, you're this, you're that. So under that guise, they pretty much set these midwives up and was like, well, come down to the city hall. We're going to get you new stuff for your birth bag, and we're going to help you get enrolled in this class. In order for you to practice, you need to be licensed, blah, 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 all this stuff. And they go down there and they tricked them, you know, and essentially they took these women's midwifery bags, got their address, their names, their numbers, and was like, if we find out you're practicing and you're still delivering, you're going to jail. So not only do you have my bag, you got my address and you know who the midwife is and what quarters. Everybody knows. So they looking out.
Right.
And that's how a lot of the midwives went underground, because you always had one or two apprentices that would take the steps of the midwives when they got older. So we slowly went away. So me even being the first Black certified professional midwife of the state of Missouri is a revolutionary act. You know what I'm saying? And it is a big, yes. Fuck the system and to colonization. Yes. And I'm just going to say it, it's the truth. It's just like they tried to grade me up.
Oh, I know. Yes.
They tried to.
How is she saying she's the first Black midwife? We have Black midwives.
I mean, mad. Like, don't make me go there. And I have nurses all in my family, all of my, like my grandma, my aunts, they were nurses and things, but the nursing profession and the nurse midwife profession came out of that act. That was the profession that happened then on the backs of that, because nurse midwives and nurses were under the guidance of physicians. So even now in many states, the nurses are fighting for their autonomy because they want to get from under that physician, and have their own autonomy. So the certified professional midwife is like and I don't want to say like one midwife is true than the other, but it's a community midwife credential, and you're embedded in the community and you work in the homes of the people. You are the people's midwife,
Right.
So there's
So let me just clarify a little bit more. The certified professional midwives are more home birth midwives, and then the certified nurse midwives work more in the hospital. So you can have a midwife and birth in the hospital with a midwife, and those usually are what they are called. So that's true.
Yep. So a certified professional midwife is the only midwife credential, and there's a few but it's the only midwife credential where your entire clinicals, where you have to attend a certain number of births, it's in out of hospital settings. Like we cannot count, like we can't have a placement at a hospital like a doctor would have a residency at a hospital. So we're experts in out of hospital birth, whether it's birthing center or home birth, because a birth center is just like another building that's home-like, and they're going to have the same things at that birthing center that they would bring to your house if you had a home birth. So yes, nurse midwives do primarily work out of the hospital. We do have an increasing amount of nurse midwives who are opening birth centers. So you may have a midwife in a birth center, and you do have some nurse midwives who attend home births. It's less nurse midwives who do that because a lot of states have laws that state that if you're a nurse, you have to have a collaborative agreement with the physician to back you up, or you can't practice.
Oh, okay.
So that's the reason why CPMs really cover the home birth profession more so than nurse midwives, even though there are some that do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I know we've been talking for a while, but I want to make sure that before I go, that I answer any really like important things. Like I can ask like 2 key questions. Like, I don't know if anybody had a question or if you had something like you wanted to.
So, I mean, you kind of really did like talk about everything that I was going to ask you about. Because I mean, you hit it all. Look,
and how am I going to tell my whole life story, and in this little time? And then we still have so much to talk about, but I guess I did. I was able to do it from my childhood, but from my ancestors' land, all the way to where we are now as a city. And so I want to say this before I answer any questions. I just really made a huge accomplishment, and it was a collective effort. It was not on my own, but I do have to honor and respect what I heard Laura say, sweat equity, and so I created my community doula training. It's called TRU's Community Doula Training. I wrote it and created it years ago and kind of sat on it, in that imposter syndrome, like, how do I know? And and finally I published it and licensed it and pushed it out a few years ago, and it it hit Savannah because it's covering preconception all the way to postpartum. And we know some of our people have fertility issues or have a history of miscarriages. And so it's wrapping people around before they get pregnant to the end, but with modern evidence and also some cultural practices and techniques. And so our training is popping. It is so much fun. It's so spiritual and sacred, but it is so informative and it prepares you. And so this training now is a part of St. Louis's newest initiative, which is the L360 Doulas Initiative. And it represents that 360 degrees, that Sankofa, to go back and fetch the wisdom that was colonized and taken away from us and to bring those practices back to a community. Women did not have to birth alone or without support from their own tribe or village, you know. And so we want to really make sure that every woman who wants to doula has one, and we'll be training 360 doulas in the next 2 years in the St. Louis region based off of this amazing groundbreaking training. And I'm proud and I'm happy. So I just wanted to highlight that. So anybody who's been watching your past shows, Vanna, and they're hearing all about the doulas and the midwives, and so if you're thinking I want to become a doula, then you can check out the STL 360 Doula Initiative and become a doula through our project.
And just a hit too, there are different doulas. And we will touch bases on that on a doula episode all about doulas. But we do have like the birthing doula and then the postpartum doula. And I want to make sure I'm clarifying that the training will cover both. Is that right or wrong?
The training for different types of doulas. So you have people who call themselves fertility doulas or preconception doulas. We call it a preconception doula. You have a pregnancy doula, which is someone who's just there to really support you through the pregnancy phase, but they're not necessarily going to do your birth. So you have that. And then you have like your childbirth doula, and that is somebody who goes on call for you and attends your birth. And then you have your postpartum doula, and that's somebody who specializes in postpartum care, because postpartum care is a whole nother world.
Yes.
Once here, now you have two clients instead of one. So, but our training is what we call full spectrum, meaning that you get all 4 of those certifications over the course of 4 days in a 32-hour training. And a lot of times people just practice as one doula, where you're like, I do all of them for you. You know, so like pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum, you get all 3 of those services. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we do have a question. It is, can you explain the difference of home birth versus hospital birth for people or families that are deciding what's best for them?
Yes. Let's start by saying there's something called risk appropriate care. And it is a model that is practiced in the UK and Canada and the Netherlands, all over practically besides the United States of America. And risk appropriate care essentially is saying that there is a provider for every risk range that you're in. So if you're low risk, that means you're fairly healthy, you don't have any major health complications or take any medication. The proper provider for your pregnancy and birth, if you're low risk, is a midwife, flat out. So in Canada and in UK and in all those other places I mentioned, everybody starts off with the midwife, unless you come into pregnancy being high risk or having some other issues. So in about 90% of all pregnancies in America are actually low risk, to start off. So most women should be with a midwife. And like you said earlier, Savannah, you can have a midwife at home, a birthing center, or a hospital birth. And if you're at the hospital and you're like, well, I want an epidural, so I still want to get an OB, well, you can get an epidural with the midwife. And the whole point is, in that low risk range, if you have a midwife, that means that they're going to treat your birth as a normal birth. They're not going to put all of these interventions in there, and try to do all of these things. They're trained to manage normal births. So they don't have a big bag of tools that they were trained to use, that they're just itching and waiting, to use. So that's Yeah, so that's risk appropriate for low risk. If you are low risk, you are a good candidate for out of hospital birth, especially if you're okay with using natural pain medication or natural pain alternatives. Then yes, if you don't have any health complications, and if you're invested in home birth, because home birth is not like having an OB at a hospital. It's not just
like a walk in the park. So let's make that clear.
We will work you, honey, because if you want to have a good, positive, beautiful experience, it's not just about, oh, I went to my doctor's appointment and I did, and I just showed up. Like, no, birthing a baby impacts every area of your life. When you come to Jamaa Birth Village, we are talking about these 4 keys that elevate you to have these beautiful birthing experience. And I'm telling you, when these women have their babies and when they leave, they are like literally unlocking so many doors in their life because of these 4 keys that we're investing into them. So what I like about home birth midwifery care is it's holistic, and every midwife practice is different. And I'm gonna be honest, the reason why Jamaa is the first of its kind is because I have yet to see, and we have beautiful birthing centers and clinics by Black midwives in the nation. All of them are serving their community how their community needs to be served. And here in St. Louis, we have our equal access midwifery clinic, where you have a herbal apothecary, a community garden, a mother baby closet with all your diapers and wipes. You got a chiropractor, a mental health counselor, a doula, a midwife. You get all your prenatal vitamins here. Like all of these things embedded into one. You have a spa room, a yoni steam area, a sauna, like after you have your baby, so you can come and get therapeutic with yourself. So anyway, I know I went on and on and on, but if you left because you know me better, I will go on and on and on. But if
go ahead, girl, look, go ahead, give them what they need to know. People need to know this. So yeah, I'm all for it. Look, I'm
thank you. So if you're ready to invest your time and invest your energy and having a home birth, if you're ready to change up how you eat, change up how you think, change up how you move, and not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but growing a baby is a new life, and we can't keep doing the same things we was doing before. You know what I'm saying? Especially in these days and times. So you will be a good candidate for home birth if all of those things I just said. So that's low risk. So if you're at risk, that's say you get a home birth midwife, everything's going fine, and then boom, you take a test and say you have gestational diabetes, and say you retest and it's still showing up you have it, and then say we change, you're now in the at-risk range once we have tested and have a condition. Now, if it's something like gestational diabetes, we can work on nutrition. We can get 30 days work on nutrition. And then if that doesn't change the blood sugar levels, then you are going to risk out and go into high risk care with the OB or a maternal fetal medicine provider. That's how it's supposed to go. But see, good old America wants to just throw people who don't need to be with the surgeon. And we have some amazing OBs, so please don't take this as a dig on OBs. This is the truth about scope of practice. This is scope of practice here. You know what I'm saying? So if we're complaining about people dying from interventions that shouldn't have happened, and people dying because they're with the provider that they shouldn't have been matched with, you're high risk and you're with a low risk provider because you're afraid to go to the hospital, or vice versa, or whatever. So I always have this corny little joke that practically everybody who's listened to me has heard it by now, but you're supposed to get your teeth cleaned twice a year. You remember this one, Vanna? Okay. You're supposed to get your teeth cleaned twice a year by the, dentist or whatever. You call the dental office to schedule a dental appointment. And then they say, do you want to see the hygienist or do you want to see the oral surgeon for your cleaning? And then who do you decide to book your appointment with for your teeth cleaning?
Hygienist.
The hygienist, exactly, because why would you go see an oral surgeon for a simple cleaning? And when you're healthy and well, pregnancy is normal.
Yeah.
We have a culture that, oh my God, this can happen. Your baby can come out of your bottom and this can happen, but you got me flat on my back.
I mean, even with high risk pregnancies, because you know how what I dealt with being high risk every pregnancy, but the difference I have to, thanks to the knowledge that I found and you guys and everything, but you know, even when you're high risk and you go into a hospital, you know, it's sometimes I think they just need to turn it down a notch and observe. Like they be so quick to throw things out there that clearly sometimes you just don't need. It's like, why are you throwing out these energies and these negative things when, like you said, like it's an illness. Like I'm just carrying a baby. People been carrying babies for like since we've been on this earth.
Doulas have been around since the beginning of time. These, you know, so this is that, you know, this, we've been torn apart as people and we've been forced into this capitalist system. They broke us down and they pushed us into this rat race, and now we're trying to pull things back together to try to get through this, you know. So I want people to be informed about their choices. And if the hospital could make any immediate change that doesn't cost money, is to move from doing informed consent to informed choice. Informed consent is, I think your body is doing this, but I want your body to do that. So we're going to do this to you, sign here. Okay. And informed choice is, we're noticing your body is making these changes and it's impacting your baby this way. We're suggesting to do this because we found that when we do this, we tend to get better results. But this could happen in light of us trying to get that better result. Now, if we do nothing, this could happen, or we can do something natural. That's informed choice. Like, lay that shit out. Like, don't hold it back from me.
Give me options. Yes. Let me be in charge of my own body. Yes.
Yes. And then if you push back or say no, they flip it around and make it seem like you don't know what you're talking about. Yourself, you're harming your baby. So please, if there's any providers who see this, if you are expecting, or even if you're just going to a regular doctor's appointment, really get comfortable saying, can you please provide me with all of my choices? What happens if I do nothing? What happened? What's the pros and cons if I do nothing? Pros and cons if I do what you want me to do, and the pros and cons of me trying this natural alternative thing that doesn't consist of whatever this is. So that's what I have for everybody right now, as far as like that question regarding the difference between hospital and home. Hospital, you're in an environment where birth currently is looked at as not as a normal physiologic event. It's looked at as a medical illness. That's why they presumably hook you up to all these things, because they're expecting things to go wrong. So they give you all these fluids. They tell you you can't eat while you're in labor because they're expecting to give you a C-section and don't want food in your stomach. So all these simple things that we don't even think about, they're setting us up. So if you got the time to invest and possibly the money, because home birth does cost in the state of Missouri, Medicaid is not currently covering home birth. So then consider having a home birth midwife. We're booked up through fall, but we work with some other. You so wrong. You are so petty, Vanna. No, you're on mute.
You booked them. Am I still on mute? No, you booked them busy, girl. No, ain't no wrong with that. She said we booked up to fall. Like she and baby, they putting out some baby dolls.
My is in the phone waiting for the pregnancy line to come up, and they're like, "I just got my pregnancy test. Did I make?" I'm like, "You made it by hair. We got you. We got you on our calendar."
That's what's up, though. You is booked and busy, and that just goes to show that Black women want, they want a different option. They do. They want a different options, and ain't nothing wrong with that. And I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna move on to the next question. But Black women, it's okay to speak up for yourself. It's okay to advocate for yourself, and it's okay to ask questions. Don't feel intimidated. Ask questions, and if that provider makes you feel uncomfortable, find you another one.
Yep.
Point blank here. Find you another one. Go ahead.
But they enable the behavior of the system. That's what decolonize means. It means get it out of your mind that it's okay for us to let these things happen to us and we not say anything. Like, no, it's not okay.
No, it's not okay.
All right, so let's do our last question, Vanna.
Okay, the last question is, if women are thinking about having a child, what are some of the things you recommend to prepare for birth?
Okay, so if they're thinking about having a child, so is this before they become pregnant, or you're already pregnant? The way
it sounds like it's before they even got pregnant, because they're thinking about having a child.
Okay. what I would recommend is that you start taking a good prenatal vitamin at least 3 months before you start trying to have a baby. So a lot of us, and especially Black people who live in marginalized communities, we start our pregnancies in a nutritional deficiency. So we probably aren't taking a vitamin. We may even have a good eating regime. Like we may eat our fruits and vegetables and grains and proteins and things, but we could be purchasing our food from not so good sources where the soil is depleted, the food maybe isn't organic. So our bodies are still missing out. And we need the closest replica of our whole cells in order to create a baby that's whole and not carrying on our inadequacies. And not saying that it's our fault or anything, but the truth is that we need certain levels of vitamins and minerals in order to create and sustain a healthy pregnancy. And so start that prenatal vitamin. You may also want to consider cleansing yourself. I didn't say detox, but cleansing yourself, which means maybe pressing reset by doing like a weekend, like raw or herbal fast. So that means maybe just for a weekend, drinking fresh pressed juices, carrot juice, beets, red and orange foods that help to bring energy to your reproductive organs. Eat salads just for a weekend, and you can do cashews and trail mix to bring the protein in, and avocados and things like that. But I would do that as a reset so that you can reset your sensory from maybe wanting certain processed or convenient foods that can be detrimental to your pregnancy. Or you can do a very tried and true old herbal remedy, which is peppermint and red clover. That can be a reset and a cleanse. And that can be made as a herbal tea infusion. And it helps to alkalinize the vaginal and cervical fluids, which makes it more likely that you will become pregnant. Hold on a second.
Yeah, so while she is doing that, you guys, I do want to plug the shirt one more time real quick. If you want to get in the drawing for this shirt, please share this live and comment underneath below, and I will get your name in the drawing and we will announce the winner.
I'm sharing it because I want one. So just letting you know.
I got you though. I got you.
Thank you. But yes. So did I answer that last question? I know when I got up, it kind of.
Yeah, you did. I think you did. I think you gave them quite a few actions. You said take a nice vitamin, make sure they're cleansing, not detox, but cleansing their cells and eating properly.
Yeah, because the detox is about, I have all these impurities. Maybe I was taking pharmaceuticals for a while, maybe on birth control. I want to cleanse my body. And doing a detox is great. I'm not saying not to, but my intention, because sometimes detoxes, you'll cleanse yourself and then go right back to what you were doing before. And the whole point is to like do a reset and everything. So yeah, that's what I would do to help prepare. And then I would also utilize that time to find a doula that you kind of vibe with and find a provider that meets your needs. I would shop for providers and doulas like you would shop for a house or an apartment.
Yes, because every doula ain't for everybody. So
thank you, honey.
Shop around. Yes.
Thank you. Every midwife isn't either. And I'll be quite honest, like you have to think about that, and every provider doesn't, so you want to make sure that they're a good match for you. So yeah, thanks for y'all questions.
Thank you for being here. I know you are a busy lady. I appreciate it. I do want to close off first by saying, you guys, the Hood Talks is done for February. We are returning in March 13th, with Us Against Us. Let's talk accountability, Black folks. So please, y'all, tune into that show, because that conversation is going to get some people uncomfortable. But I am ready to have it and ready to discuss it. And again, thank you, Miss TRU. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Dropping
gems. I think we were on good behavior, Shavannah. So
it did. I tried to sit back. I sipped a little bit.
I was leaning too, because I was like, if I sit up close, I'm like, girl,
we gonna act the fool. We gonna act the fool.
like.
we gotta act right, y'all. Look, we gotta act right. But no,
We
this
do.
is hood talk. We could.
Right. So cheers. Thank you for having me. I am going to enjoy the rest of my weekend. So I'm sending love to everybody, and follow us and stay in touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, go follow Jamaa Birth Village on Facebook, Instagram. The website is www.jamaabirthvillage.org. Am I right?
You got
go. You can find all of the information about what Jamaa does, the 360 initiative, and all of that. If you want to become a doula, the best place to be trained is right there at Jamaa. And if y'all got questions, inbox the Hood Talks, and I will try to lead you the way. But on that note, we're gonna go ahead and end this live so she can go ahead and enjoy, and y'all can go enjoy this sun out here, soak up some vitamin D in St. Louis, and we will see y'all again on March 13th. All right, y'all. We out.